Okay, let's just jump right in. Just when it looked like the US and Iran were headed for an all-out conflict, the world gets hit with this stunning, totally unexpected announcement. So today, we're going to break down what in the world just happened, why it's such a big deal, and the huge questions that are still hanging in the air.
And really, this says it all, doesn't it? This was the live, on-air reaction from a chief foreign correspondent who's been covering this story day in and day out. Not just a little surprise, but absolute shock. This was a development that, believe me, nobody saw coming, and it has completely changed the game.
So let's get right to the heart of it. What exactly caused this political earthquake? Well, it all started with a single announcement that seemed to come out of left field, completely defying where things seemed to be heading.
And this is it. This is the statement from President Trump that literally stopped everyone in their tracks. I mean, after weeks of intense military pressure, hearing the words "very good and productive conversations," it just felt like it was from another planet. But it didn't just end with that.
And there you have it. The words were immediately followed by real action, a direct order to pause specific military operations. So this wasn't just talk, it was a real, concrete de-escalation, even if it is a temporary one. The big question, of course, was, for how long?
5 days. That's the timeline we were given. A 5-day halt on any strikes aimed at Iran's energy and power infrastructure. And this pause is explicitly tied to how well these secret, behind-the-scenes talks go.
Now, to really understand why this 5-day pause is such a bombshell, we need to rewind the clock just a little bit. The context here is everything, because it shows just how close we were to a much bigger war. The whole situation was on a knife's edge. I mean, just look at this timeline. The whiplash is incredible. We went from literally thousands of U.S. airstrikes over 3 weeks to a 48-hour ultimatum from the president to Iran firing off dozens of missiles at Israel, and then, bam, out of nowhere, this sudden halt. The region went from the absolute brink of war to a possible diplomatic off-ramp in the blink of an eye. It's just wow.
So, this sudden pivot from conflict to conversation, well, it brings us to the biggest mystery in all of this, the unanswered questions. Because while the announcement was clear, pretty much everything else about it is covered in a thick fog of war.
This right here is the #1 question. It's what every journalist on the ground is trying to figure out. You know, you need two people to have a conversation, and right now, it's incredibly unclear who actually has the authority to speak for Iran.
And this is the problem in a nutshell. Iran's leadership seems to be fractured. You've got the president and foreign minister, who are considered the moderate voices, but then you have reports that the supreme leader, the guy with the final say, is greatly injured. And on top of that, the hardline IRGC is sending messages that they want to keep fighting. So who exactly is on the other end of the phone? We just don't know.
And beyond the who is the what. What are they even talking about? Because the public messages we're getting from both sides have been, well, completely contradictory. Get a load of this. Just yesterday, Iran's own foreign minister was on the record saying he was not interested in talking to the U.S. And then today, the president says talks are going great. I mean, come on. Both of those statements cannot be true at the same time. One of them isn't telling the full story, and that contradiction is right at the heart of all this uncertainty.
Okay, so let's pull back the lens for a second. What's the bigger picture here? What are the long-term goals? Why is all this happening? And what would a, quote, total resolution even look like?
According to analysts, these are the 4 big pillars that the U.S. administration is focused on. This isn't just about stopping the immediate fighting. It's about fundamentally changing the entire security situation in the Middle East. Everything from shipping lanes to nuclear ambitions to the safety of America's allies over there.
And this is a really crucial point to remember. This 5-day pause is not a ceasefire, not by a long shot. The order is very specific. It only halts strikes against energy and power targets. Other military operations, they could still be happening. This is a very targeted, very limited de-escalation, basically designed to give diplomacy just a tiny bit of breathing room.
And so as that 5-day clock is ticking down, we're all left with this one giant question. Is this just a temporary break in a conflict that's destined to start up again? Maybe even worse than before? Or are we actually seeing the first fragile steps towards some kind of historic breakthrough? The key takeaways are these. The context is everything. This pause is shocking because things were so bad just a moment ago. The biggest unknown is not if they're talking, but who is really talking for Iran. And finally, remember, this is a very limited pause, not a full stop. Whether it becomes a real turning point, well, that is the great unknown.